Hi everyone, my name is Iris Yim. I'm the editor of this YouTube channel. Today I am excited to speak with Ghanaian watercolor artist Jonathan Aggrey. Jonathan first reached out to me many years ago after seeing my father's Yim Mau-Kun's work. And since then, I have been following his journey with great admiration. His paintings beautifully capture the spirit of Ghana, its people, culture, and daily life, with exceptional mastery of watercolor. He has exhibited internationally, including in China and recently in France, and brings both artistic depth and business savvy to his work. Jonathan, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much, Aris. Nice to connect with you again.
Yes, we've been exchanging emails for many years. Remind me, how did you come across my father's work?
In the early 2000s, when I first moved to Accra as a young student, graduating from high school, computer was now in evolution. So I used to use the internet by going to the cyber cafe to browse the internet. So I was able to use the internet in a good way to reach out to many artists, seeing people's work, because now computer is available to access information. So I chanced upon your father's paintings in when I was doing research in international artists. And I was so captivated by your father's painting, which I was so amazed with the bold strokes of his drawing, his sketches, his paintings, his pastel, his watercolor. I noticed he's a very diverse artist. So his figurative, very perfect on point. So I started to learn from him. So the best was to reach out, and thankfully, I noticed you are in charge of his communication. Thankfully to you and your dad, I got my first gift from him, which was his book, titled the a sketch. And then he dedicated this one to me. And being a young artist, starting life and art career, uh, his words of encouragement here meant a lot to me. Interestingly, I found his life story on this page here, climbing Mount Nora here, climbing the Mount Nora. This tells the life story of Master Yim Mau-Kun, and I found it very interesting, which is also parallel to my personal life story. How he started is similar to the same step I've also been following. He started as a commercial stage designer for a troupe and as a craftsman, the same way I also started as a commercial artist, whereby I was into printing of T-shirts, using the hand to write billboards. The posters were all manually done without computer, and that was in the 1995 onwards. So it was similar to his story, and some of the challenges he has growing up in China, being considered as a black uh, due to political reasons. I also had some challenges because of where I grew up in a town called Ashaiman. It's not known for many reasons because it was a new town and there were so many problems in that particular town. So many people didn't like to associate residents from that particular town. So I found it also very interesting that some of his early challenges, I also had the same. And if you read on, you get to how one man changed his life by allowing him to have permission to be admitted into the high school. I also had my uncle, Mr. Richard Quarrison, who came to Ghana and met my dad. He's my dad relative, and he changed my life by sponsoring my education from high school to the university level. and I'm still in touch with him. He's 92 years now. Moving on, I also noticed that your dad wanted to go to the Art Student League of New York. And after the consulate reviewed his application, he said to him, "You are too good to have more schooling in America, so there's no need for you." But only he himself knows how he felt, as he still needed more. But to a consulate, he should be content with what he already knows. The same way, I also had admission to go to the New York Academy, the Art Student League of New York. And in my case, I didn't have the funding to go to the Art Student League of New York to pursue my art career dreams. And then moving on, because he was stuck at the time, he decided to open an art atelier to develop himself and grow with others. So in my case also, since I couldn't travel to the Art Student League of New York, I decided to also further my education here in Ghana. So first of all, I went to a mentor. His name is Enoch Yamensa, who lived not far from the city. I started classes with him. And within a short time, I gained admission in Ghana to study at the higher level, University of Education, for my degree. So I had my bachelor's degree in art. And when I started my university, then international opportunities started for me. So now your dad can easily travel to the United States and rather be teaching and sharing his experience with students from all backgrounds. The same way I also now travels, rather sharing my experience with many students outside Ghana and Africa. So I found it very interesting that I have a similar life journey with your father. And thank you very much for this book.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that story with us, and what amazing parallel of life stories. So,
Yeah.
well, tell me, how did you first get into art in the first place?
At the age of 5, I noticed that I love to draw, which is very natural with many children around the world. So, as Picasso once said, every child is born an artist. The problem is how to keep on to be an artist when you grow up. So, at the age of 5, I was already drawing, scribbling around the house on the board, and very interestingly, 1990, I was just 6 years old. Uh, there were no commercial digital printing for movie posters. You know, nowadays we have the computer, so it's very easy to do a movie poster. So in the 1990s, cinemas around the country, Ghana, the commercial artists, they use their hand to draw the posters on a large scale for the public to view the movies that are going to be shown in the cinema. So what I and my friends we did was that we have a very small sketchbook, and then we go to each of the cinemas and sit in front and try to copy exactly what we see. And in the process of doing that, you see a lot of audience surrounding you, looking at what you are drawing. So when you are very good, it seems to have more audience looking at your work. But if your friend's drawing is not very good, he doesn't have much audience. So you see people telling you that this boy is talented, this boy is talented. So in a
Oh,
way,
sorry, excuse me. So, did somebody purchase your drawings?
no,
I'm just
no. But
curious.
interestingly, when your sketchbook has different movie posters, when you go to school, your colleagues can rent your sketchbook.
Rent your sketchbook. Okay.
They rent your sketchbook. So when they rent your sketchbook, what they do is that they open it. Okay, this movie, I've seen this movie. They go to the next page, oh, this movie, I've seen this movie, and they try to tell the story in the movie. And at the end of the day, you can get maybe less than $1 for just having an album which shows the sequence of all the movies you have captured.
Oh,
So in a
wow.
way,
Okay.
we make some small money for ice cream. When I was a young child. Yeah. So
Okay.
so that is how we made some money, but people not actually buying directly your sketchbook.
I
No.
see. Your paintings mostly it's watercolors. Why watercolor out of all the different types of art medium?
Well, naturally born with a talent in painting, regardless of the medium. But I found watercolor naturally coming to me. No matter how I try to divert to other mediums, watercolor still seems to get my attention. And what I noticed is that in Ghana, there were no watercolorists. I guess to know of only two artists who were practicing watercolor, but not on a higher level. So I decided that I will focus my attention to bring watercolor into light, coming from Africa and watercolor not best known in an African art. I decided that I will champion it to the international level. So when I started, many of my friends doubted my ability to use watercolor to get the attention of the international audience because generally African art is known to be more of two-dimensional art form. But when you look at the Europeans and the American art, it tends to have more in-depth in terms of three-dimensionality and all of that. So I decided that I have to work exceptionally by looking at what the foreign masters are painting, like your dad and many international artists are painting, and also try to emulate in similar direction, but not imitating exactly what they are painting. Because I am a Ghanaian, I cannot be painting a landscape in England. It will not make sense to many people. I have to portray my own story. I have to use watercolor to tell my own story, where I am coming from, to show the world the different view in my work. For example, when I was exhibiting in China, the curator in Qingdao Art Museum mentioned that when you look at Jonathan's works, I, as a Chinese, I've not traveled to Africa, but looking at Jonathan's painting, I feel like I've traveled to Africa through his painting. So there were many reasons why I needed to bring African watercolor to the limelight, and that is what gave birth to my book, um, the tales of African watercolor. So if you look here, this
Mhm.
was the main reason why I noticed that I've been working close to 2 decades in watercolor, and I needed to document all that I have achieved and done in watercolor so far. So I decided to document all my paintings about Ghana, which I've done in watercolor, to show the world that this is all is
Can you
from
hold it up a little
from
bit? Yeah.
yeah. So for example, this is a typical place called Elmina. Elmina is a fishing village in Ghana.
Hmm.
Yeah. So this is a scene from there. And I have same Elmina and other places in Ghana. So this is, for example, is a castle, Cape Coast Castle in Ghana,
Hmm.
and there are a lot of fishing boats is nearby the sea. And this is a fisherwoman also from Apam, and a fish seller or a fishmonger. That
Hmm.
is her portrait. So this book contains all the daily life of Ghana and how we live here. And all these places are still in existence. And there have been some real innovations in some of these places. But my paintings captures the story of all all these places. Yeah. So there I have many reasons to be a watercolor. to project Africa and Ghana.
So yeah, I am always very impressed with how you portray Ghana's people and landscape, culture so poetically and beautifully.
Thank you.
Can you walk us through your process? How do you approach a new piece from conception to execution?
Okay. Yeah. So with my knowledge in painting, mostly I paint landscapes and figurative, which is people. Usually I need to connect with a place. I like to go to the location and then feel the atmosphere, see the people, look at what is happening there, and then document it through sketches. And then when I return to the studio, I take some extra photos also. And then I put all this together by using my visual imagination to do the composition, to eliminate and add my experience outside into the work. So I'm able to create my own story, not necessarily copying just a mere photograph, but rather interpreting my experience through painting. So that is the typical way of my painting process. For example, I mostly don't paint foreign landscapes, but with my experience doing my recent exhibition in France, specifically, I was asked to paint the Calais landscape, which has the boats, the ports, but everything is totally different from what I've been used to paint. So, with my experience, they took me to different coastal areas in the northern part of France, which is Calais, to observe the environment and create paintings out of it. This painting, for example, is at Cap Grene. I visited it. I saw the lighting, the mountain, the hillside, the sea, how people walk at the shore. So I have to create a painting out of this. So initially, I did a sketch, and then I used my imagination also to interpret this story of a man walking his dog on the shore, which is a typical practice in Calais, in the northern part of France. And if you go further, similar story of a group of family walking with their dog also at the shore. So you could see, and this is also a fish yard in Rison, and the same way also for this painting. Uh, all were done in France, which are not my usual subject. But as a good artist and a storyteller, you are supposed to paint it in a nice way that will appeal to people. Also, this was in Calais, people flying kites at the sea, and so all these are new subjects to me, but as a good artist, you are supposed to be able to paint whatever they give to you. This was their pot. Their boat is completely different. We don't have this kind of boat here. And their pot I did of an area view of the Calais port in this painting. Same for this. And you look here, you could see some of the sketches I did before coming out with the paintings, which were all shown in the Leperero.
Right.
So these are the sketches here.
Speaking of subjects, what inspires your subject choices?
I live in the southern part of Ghana, which is near the Atlantic Ocean. So in the southern part, all my life has been in the south. So I'm close to the fishing sceneries all my life. From where I was born, where I had my education, it's all at the coast. Very easy to go to the coast. So I have no reason not to paint my subjects of the coast. So that is why I paint more of my coast art from the subject. I'm sure if I were to be living in the other part of Ghana where there's more forestry, I'm sure I would have been drawn with painting more of forest scene. Yes, yeah.
Have you traveled to other parts of Ghana and painting the landscape there?
Yes, I've been to other part of Ghana, but most importantly is the south because the south seems to have more of the coastal life. The other part of Ghana is more of forestry, and I don't find it more interesting as compared to the subjects in the south. Because in the south, for example, you can have a river with people fetching water, how they live. It is more interesting to paint than those in the northern part of Ghana where the land is dry and there is no more subjects engaging activities to paint that. But all the same, it's all part of the experience. If I happen to be in the north, I remember when I was working briefly with the government, I was in the northern part of Ghana. So I started drawing and painting cows because in the north there's a lot of cows grazing on the field. So I started capturing those elements in my early paintings before I moved back again to the south. So where I travel to, I try to tell the story through a painting over there. Yeah.
I see. You've shown your work in China and also recently in France. How did those opportunities come about?
I remember in early 2014 when I was just finishing my university work. I got an invitation from China, and I was surprised because I didn't have any contacts in China. But then I was traveling more to Turkey as a young artist, learning watercolor. So I have been published in several magazines from the International Watercolor Society. So I guess by chance, the Chinese people got notice of my talent and invited me to join the other international artists for an exhibition. And then uh, it turned my life around. That invitation to China turned my life around because the government offered a lot of money to collect four of my paintings to be kept in the museum. And the amount they gave me helped me to start my house in Ghana, my car, and got married and have two children.
The funds took care of your life.
So I'm so pleased with the Chinese government for that offer. And so that was how I got to exhibit in China with other international artists. And I have a photograph to quickly share on that.
While you were looking for your photos, I have another question. How was your work received in these very different cultural contexts?
So over here, you see in the photo is me standing proudly beside my painting, which was collected into the Qingdao Art Museum.
It's a beautiful painting.
Thank you. And then what else again? There are a little more photos to that subject. Okay, so I show you the rest of the photos. So these are some of the people in Chinese enjoying my painting.
Okay. So, how was your work received by the Chinese audience?
The way I work, I I observe how the international masters work. What makes their work more appealing to everybody that looks at their painting? Good painting is supposed to have certain elements: good composition, proportion, lighting, shadows, placement of objects, rendition of the subject. How you are able to put all these elements together makes a good painting, which naturally appeals to the international audience or anybody that looks at your paintings without questioning the lack of it. Understanding all these elements, when I paint my country subjects in those elements, naturally it appeals to the large audience or the international audience. So I wasn't so surprised when my works traveled to China and it was well received because they can easily relate with it, enjoy it. For example, it's like listening to a foreign music that you don't understand the language. But when the music is good, you enjoy the beat or the sound of it. I, for instance, I listen to African music, but I don't speak that language, but it appeals to my soul. So the same way Chinese people may not be familiar with Africa, but looking at my paintings, it appeals to them. The same way my paintings travel to Vietnam, Kosovo, Albania, Hong Kong, China, Taiwan for exhibitions, they enjoy looking at my paintings. So I wasn't surprised my paintings were well received in China.
I see. So what did people say about your paintings?
Well, naturally, when they look at my paintings, uh, they thought I am older. Maybe I'm in my 60s or 70s to be able to do that. Yeah. So, but I'm just in my early 40s. So, some of the comments I received are people have not traveled to Africa, but when they look at my paintings, they feel like they are there. For example, looking at your dad's painting in the background, I don't know the location, but I feel like I'm a part of the that environment he painted. So the same way I also make my audience feel. So I use my painting to tell the story, the moment, the time, the atmosphere for others to feel the presence of it, as if they are also part of the painting. Yeah. So there have been so many comments about my paintings. Yeah.
I see. So it sounds like you have been traveling, exhibiting a lot. How do you balance creativity with the demands of sustaining a professional career?
Well, I've been traveling for many years now for international exhibitions. So mostly I do a lot of the paintings in Ghana. So it is very easy for me to export it or travel with it because being in Ghana allows me the comfort and the time I need to work and travel at the same time. So I'm always on a schedule how many times I need to travel in a year, how many works do I need to produce to meet the demands. As we are speaking now, I have some few weeks to prepare because I'm returning back again to France. So staying in Ghana allows me that privilege and comfort to do my paintings and travel with it without pressure.
I see. So what platforms or approaches have worked best for you in terms of building visibility or connecting with collectors?
So far, I would say the social media has been a great tool for being discovered. We are in the modern times that opportunities is fair to everybody as long as you are doing a good thing. For example, I used Facebook, Instagram, and sometimes TikTok to produce to show my artworks, not any other thing, but basically showing my artwork. So it allows people the visibility to see my paintings and then they connect with me and then they followed me. And in the process of that, I get invitation to be invited for international exhibitions. And as long as you are also there, it is also easy to connect with other people who will be more interested to follow your story or invite you for events. Yeah. And in my recent exhibition in France, I got to connect with the gallery manager through an exhibition in Coquel in France. So when he saw my paintings, he bought one of my paintings and he told me he has a gallery and he would like to invite me for a residency and also uh, exhibit in his gallery. And everything went well and it was quite successful. So that is how I connect naturally with people.
I see. What advice would you give to emerging Ghanaian or African artists who want to bring their work to the global stage?
Well, what I always say is that it's a process. It's not a one day journey. You have some challenges, but most importantly is to get as much training, whether through formal or informal, whether you go through a master to understudy the profession, whether you go to school to acquire more knowledge. And if you are able to have the two, I am sure you will have unlimited possibilities of because you are doing a good job. So the most important thing is to acquire more knowledge and take the process gradually. There is not a one day miracle that you are an amateur painter and then you jump to a professional level. It's a build up. So it is most importantly, my advice is get as much education, whether formal and informal, for whatever you are doing in order to grow your profession. Because when you have the knowledge, nobody can take it from you, and that will serve you for a longer time. I remember some of my experience in Turkey. I've never done a live demonstration to a large audience. No. So with my constant practice in Ghana, when I was called upon to demonstrate, I didn't fumble or be shaken without knowing what I am doing because I've taken my time to build my solid skills before I jump to the international stage. So it is most important is to have a lot of knowledge or education before you do whatever you want to do.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
showing your work and your stories. Well, it's a pleasure talking to you. I hope our audience can find some inspiration from your stories and experiences.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And have a great day. And my lovely greetings to your father.
Okay, thank you.